good evening or morning or whatever time of the day it happens to be. Welcome one, welcome all to the Writer's Block podcast. My name is Greg Nikas, your host. And this week, I'm sitting down with middle grade author Alyson Gerber to talk about the latest entry in her acclaimed series, The Liar Society. It's a series of mystery and suspense, all centered around a New England boarding school, where the rules of right and wrong are flipped, and friendships are tested in the name of a secret society. We'll also talk about how Alyson used her early works as self-therapy, shutting down negative self-talk, and so much more. If you guys are enjoying the Writer's Block podcast, please consider following along and leaving a review over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or your podcasting platform of choice. And you can find us over on social media to keep up to date with the latest from the Writer's Block podcast. We are at Writer's Block Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. All right, housekeeping out of the way, let's get into today's conversation with Alyson Gerber. So, Alyson, you were very open about your struggles with undiagnosed ADHD from an early age. Your diagnosis came later in life. You were 21. What was receiving that diagnosis like? What was it like to finally put a face to a name, I guess?
Oh, I mean, for me, it was life-changing. It's why it's one of the things I lead with, because I really want kids, especially kids who have received a label and are not feeling great about it, to know that it's the best thing that ever happened to me. There's nothing that's better for you than knowing who you are. Even if it's not exactly who you want to be, knowing the way your brain works, knowing what makes you better at being a person is the greatest gift I've ever received. And I hope that that other people can see it that way too.
You've spoken about how reading was a challenge for you, which is something that many kids with ADHD experience. Personally, it took me a really long time to lock into a series or a book that I enjoyed. Was there a specific book or like a specific series that just spoke to you differently as a kid?
So I think part of the reason that I had there were a few reasons I had a hard time reading. I didn't have phonics. So I grew up at the time where there was no phonics. I was easily distracted, and my pace of reading my decoding of words was much slower than my brain. So the first thing I always say about reluctant reading is try a different format. For me, audiobooks at 1.7 speed, that's where I enjoy storytelling the most. As a kid, like a young kid, which is something that I always sort of forget, we used to take out books on tape from the library. That was a way in for me. That was for sure. But I forgot about it because that wasn't reading at the time, and the access was limited. So for me, it wasn't until I got to fifth grade and read The Weston Game, and that book really unlocked something in me. And I think what it unlocked was mysteries, adventure. It made me feel smart. It was a book that sort of sent the message kids can be smarter than adults, which is the intention with the Liar Society series. Is the origin story for the Liar Society really is that I wanted to write a book that would grab readers and non-readers, adults and kids, and give them something to wonder about, create suspense, put them on a roller coaster of adrenaline, and as they consider, what does it mean to tell the truth, and who do you want to be, and who do you want to be in the world?
Your first three published works, Braced, Taking Up Space, and Focused,
Mhm.
they deal with heavy topics like body image and neurodivergence in young people. Was there a particular theme that you felt more strongly needed to be addressed through your books?
I wrote my first three books because I had a lot of feelings about what I had been through, and I figured kids would have those similar feelings too and could relate, and that's what happened. It sort of was a healing process for me to tell my truth. And I think for a lot of kid readers, they heard their own truth in those stories. What I realized after taking up space was I wanted to actually be on the journey I was sort of meant to be on. And so I moved into like a really commercial, that's like a bad word in literature, but I wanted to write a book that was like really engaging. It would be like more fun than watching a TV show. It would be like the best movie you ever saw in your head. And I didn't forget about those important themes. Those themes are always going to be in my books. The character of Prescott is neurodivergent. It's not said because he is diagnosed and he is getting the help he needs, but the way that I see it is always a bit complicated. So I want any reader to be able to see themselves in that character. I took all of what I learned from writing my first three books and sort of put it in a world that I really wanted to live in. And I wanted to live in a world that was fun and dangerous and exciting and thrilling, and where we could go to Switzerland in a secret escape and study abroad and go on European adventures and go skiing with this group of friends who they're all different. They all want different things, but ultimately they want to win together as a team. And then sometimes they just want to win themselves. And they're very human, they're very competitive, and they make choices that maybe you would make and maybe you wouldn't make. And I wanted the readers to really think and get to play along as they go on this really fun journey.
The Liar Society centers around Jack and Weatherby, who get drawn into this global secret society, Last Heir, where everyone seems to be lying about something. Why was being untrustworthy an issue you wanted to explore, and why does it resonate so well with middle grade readers, do you think?
I mean, I think it's something we're always contemplating. Like, what does it mean to trust somebody else? What does it mean to be a true friend? What does it mean to be honest? Because sometimes we think we're being honest, but maybe there's another layer of truth we just haven't dug into yet. And I think that's true of what we inherit as well, like some of the family stories that get passed down, they're edited. We only get the good ones. Like we don't hear the bad stories about when things went wrong. And I thought that's really what I wanted this to be, an intergenerational story where we talk about like how do you, as somebody who's like born into a family, into a place, into a culture, community, how do you then figure out who you are and then decide who you want to be within the confines of what you're being told you have to be, or what you're being told you are definitely or are definitely not. And that gets really complicated. And I really wanted it to be a series that would, as the readers are having fun, I also wanted them to question and consider like maybe I'm the person I can trust the most. And how do I learn to trust myself? And I think the first step in learning to trust yourself is to watch other people make choices and say, like, would I make that choice or would I make a different choice? What kind of choice feels right to me in this moment? Do I want to protect my characters or do I want them in the boiling water? It's fiction is a place to do that. It's a place to play.
So, getting into the main characters of Jack and Weatherby, what were the inspirations for them, and how did their dynamic evolve through the writing process?
So I thought I was going to write this story from the perspective of an outsider completely. Like, thought it was just going to be Weatherby's story when I started writing it. And as I wrote the first few chapters, I realized like it's impossible to do this without seeing the inside. So their emotional arc is really interesting because Weatherby comes into this world. It's very different than anything she's ever experienced. There's so much money, there's so much legacy. She's a total outsider. She's like most readers. She's like most people coming into this world. And Jack is born into it. He doesn't know any different. And we really judge those people a lot. And I wanted to see how I could reflect that, but also like maybe give some insight into how he might change. And I think by book three, they start to sort of swap arcs in some ways because Weatherby's like, I actually like it here. And Jack's like, you're just not seeing it for what it is. But he doesn't really know any better. He has no idea what his life would be like without power and privilege. And she does. She knows she knows what that's like. And she's like, but I kind of want power and privilege. And they're going to have to sort it out. Their friends have their own opinions about what they want and how they want to manage their own power. I thought that was really important, wrestling. I think kids are always wrestling with that, even on a small scale on a middle school playground. Some people have power and some people are good at sports and some people aren't. And some people make friends easily and some people don't. And some people made a wrong choice and everybody's gossiping about them. That is what's happening just on a much more inflated scale here.
Of all the characters in the Liar Society, is there one character that maybe you feel the most connected to, or like you have a personal favorite, maybe?
They're all me in some ways. I love them all. I mean, I love the political strategist in Iris. I love Harper as, somebody who has had a secret, who knows what secrets feel like, who wants to belong. Prescott is neurodivergent. He is smart in all these really unique ways, and he's emotional in all these really unique ways. And that his arc is really interesting and really relatable to me. And I am Jack and Weatherby. I have been an outsider and an insider in all different situations. We all know what that feels like. Sometimes you are, whatever world you're walking into, sometimes you know everybody and sometimes you know nobody. And it's fun to play with both perspectives.
Book one has a focus on these themes of secrecy and mistrust, while book two, Friends Like These, introduces an emphasis on friendship and kind of the polar opposite in terms of theming. But what was the reason behind this pivot, and how did you approach balancing the themes from book to book?
To me, the theme throughout the whole series is like really who am I and who do I want to be? And so, like, who do I want to be in my community? Who do I want to be to other people? Who do I want to be in the world? That so each like sort of the question just keeps rolling and keeps getting bigger, but I always go back to that. Like, who am I and who do I want to be? Because that I think is ultimately the question of growing up. Like who am I? Am I a fight or flight person? Am I like, which side am I choose? Like if I have to choose, I always say to the kids like, are you a book one person or are you a book two person? And you don't have to read both one and two before you read book three, but everybody's a book three person because like what's more fun than going on a pretend Swiss adventure in the Swiss? Like it's just going to be a blast. We know we're going to have fun. We're going to meet royal people. It's going to be awesome. But the first two books, like, do you need things in order? Are you somebody who says like, don't spoil that for me? If you don't want the story spoiled for you, you have to start with book one. If you're somebody who's like could start a TV show halfway through and then you're like, oh, I'll catch up later, then you might be a book two person. And we can read books differently. And I think I didn't know that. Like nobody ever gave me permission to do that. So I feel like it's really important that we give readers permission to read things out of order and get into a story however they need to. I need to start at the catalyst. So I'm like, I don't want the world building until I know what's going to happen. So for me, when I write, I always start with the catalyst and then I back up.
I'm curious, the reading like trends in that young, that middle grade audience, they kind of change pretty regularly. Is that why each book is kind of it's standalone? You can jump into any of them if you really want to, but if you stick with the whole thing, you're more rewarded later on. Is that kind of the reason?
It's so interesting because I am a super trendy like I like trends. I'm like there's a middle school right down the street from us, and I like to watch the middle schoolers and how their like outfits evolve throughout the school year and how things change and what they're listening to, what they're talking about. But I don't think that books really work that way. I think that at a core of any book, there's some sort of heart and something that's truly human, whether it was the 90s that humanity happened or today. Um, you know, the core of friendship is something that's evolving throughout your whole life. And friends are gonna not do everything perfectly. And sometimes they're gonna make decisions that are you can't fix, you can't change it. It's maybe you can heal it with time and talking. And maybe you can't. And maybe it's time to walk away. Maybe that's not the best friend for you. And I think that the core of that, the core of what does it mean to be a child to somebody and what does it mean to be a parent to somebody, that's really what's at the core of all my books, those human interactions, how we make choices and face consequences. I think that's, it doesn't matter what socioeconomic class you're from. It doesn't matter what world you're in. None of those things matter when it comes to the facts of human nature. And so for me, that's what all my books are based on. So the dressing of that, um, sometimes maybe one book is more popular than the other, but I try to make them sort of timeless.
I'm curious about this because myself and my co-host, we both have a bit of the neurospiciness to our brains. We've talked about this a couple different times where when we're writing something and we're so super excited about it, we have to instantly tell someone about it. We need that instant feedback, that dopamine hit. Is there a moment from the first two books, or maybe book three if you felt like sharing, but you don't have to because obviously spoilers, that you had that kind of a reaction to, like, I have to share this with someone right now?
Oh, I feel like the whole thing was written that way. I think that actually I wrote the first book in the Liar Society series, and I have a author friend, Christina Diaz Gonzalez, who has an amazing book coming out, Offside, in the summer. And I wrote the whole book, sort of sending her chapter by chapter, being like, and she would be like, I need more now. Like I feel like that is to me that is what the book is. It's like how can I keep like pull you in and hold you there and make you want to you have to just stay up to read the next chapter. That I mean, I wanted to write the book that way because that I'm the same way as you. I wanted the urgency and the excitement to be sort of you couldn't resist it in these books.
So, A Secret Empire, Book Three, is the latest entry in the series, and it takes Jack and Weatherby to Switzerland, as we've talked about before. What was the inspiration for taking the setting from this New England, area to this international adventure?
Yeah, no, and I think and we're staying on an international adventure, as we keep going through the books for a bit. I think for me, I thought it was really important to make sure that it was clear that this insular world exists worldwide. That that this is a world of haves and have-nots, and when we take them to Europe, we see that it looks different, but it really is the same. So you can have serve different food and have different rules, and but there's so much that's the same in this new world they're entering, and that really the only thing that's consistent is you. And we see that impact other characters for better and for worse. There's new, it's not a new cast by any means, but there are new sort of regulars who are now sort of folded into the story, and they have a different perspective than the kids who come from Boston. I really wanted to explore that because and I thought it would be fun to do it when they're still in middle school, because you go to camp, or you meet somebody new at the beach with your family, and you're a different version of yourself, and you get to be different because somebody doesn't know, that you're not good at math. Maybe they think you're good at math, and they see you differently and you see yourself differently. And that's something we're always playing around with in elementary and middle school. And it's something we're playing around with as adults. So I wanted adults and kids to be able to read this together and talk about that and talk about, what does that mean? How do you figure it out? Who you are and who you want to be.
Whether it is Jack and Weatherby coming into this new setting, or it is one of the new characters, was there someone in Secret Escape that you found more challenging to write this time around?
I find Teddy to be so challenging. I mean, she is my favorite character in so many ways, and she is such a hard character. She is flawed, she is complicated, she is evolving and maturing, but not probably at the rate that she needs to be. But I found putting her in a new environment so rewarding, and I hope readers respond to her that way, that they give her grace, but also they judge her. I'd like them to do both.
What do you hope that readers take away from the Liar Society series besides just the mystery itself?
Yeah, I mean, it's a story about power and privilege, and about deciding what it means to be a good person to you. We have our society norms of what it means to be a good person. We have to follow the rules of our school and our country and our family. But within that, there's so much nuance. Like, how do we want to treat other people? Because when you treat somebody else really well, it feels really good and it makes you stronger and better. And when you find friends who want to cheer for you, and you are truly a good supportive friend, and you get that back, there's like nothing better in the world than that. There's nothing that makes you better, happier, and more filled with joy than finding people where you get to cheerlead for each other. I find the cheerleading so fun, and I've found being cheerleaded for harder for me, because of negative self-talk. But accepting both and being both is something I really hope readers think about. And not everybody's going to be your cheerleader, and you're not going to want to be everybody's cheerleader, and that's also okay.
Out of curiosity, when it comes to that negative self-talk, do you have any advice for young people who might be listening, who have similar problems, who have that negative self-talk and they can't kick it?
It is a hard process to stop it. It seems like it's going to make you stronger and better, to if you like, in some ways um it's a way that we cope, and a way it's maybe even we maybe think it's a strength, but I can tell you that it is probably the worst thing you can do for yourself, and it's not helping you. You don't need it. It's a way to prevent feeling anxious, and you think you're going to fail, so you're preempting the failure. But if you fail, you fail, and you're going to have to feel that failure and all that pain when you do fail. So you don't have to preempt it. You can actually just believe in yourself. And I honestly, the thing that is I find hard is the starting. The starting, I find the stopping much easier. So now that I know it's bad for me, I will, like, if I hear it, even in my head, I like write it down, I cross it out, and I throw it away, because I have to like put down my truth on paper. That's like one of the things that's really helped me. So maybe that could be a helpful tool for other people. I think negative self-talk is so bad. I think it's a crutch, and it's not good, and it's not helping you or saving you. But how to start doing that, ultimately you have to figure it out for yourself. But I think we should all decide to just stop talking negatively to ourselves and find that way that you can get rid of it. That
Yeah.
you, whatever that means. Like for me, sometimes that means going for a run. I'm like, ooh, that's not nice. I'm gonna go run it and get it away. But I always have to write it down.
Is there a question about your works or about your process or anything like that that you want people to ask more about that you never hear or you rarely ever hear?
You know what? I feel like I get really good questions. That's a great question. I mean, I want people to ask me why I'm so sneaky and how I'm so good at hiding all my secrets. But I can't tell them that anyway because I just keep all my secrets to myself. If I really dig deep, like, I wonder why I'm so obsessed with mysteries. Like, that is probably the biggest question that nobody asks me is like, why the mystery? And I think the answer to I'll answer my own question. I want to be in the story. And writing a mystery allows readers to be in the story. You come into my story, you're welcome. Try to solve it before the kids solve it. Try to figure it out first because all the information is there for you. I'll never hide anything from you. I hate when people do that.
Mm.
I want you to be able to solve it. I want you to be the detective. And when Jack leaves, you're Weatherby's best friend, and when Weatherby leaves, you're Jack's best friend.
I guess last question I have for you this morning. If you were suddenly drafted into the last heir today, which challenge would you crush and which challenge would completely ruin you?
To be honest, I think I would freeze up at the puzzles on the spot. I think they would all crush me. Like, I think I'm so good at puzzles and I could solve any puzzle and like throw an anagram at me, I got you. But I think the time pressure cooker feeling, the mental game might be harder for me than the physical challenges. I think I could crush the physical challenges in like ticking time bomb scenario. Like the floor is lava, I'm on it. Like I got this. But the mental challenges, that sort of like the pressure cooker mental
Mm.
challenge, I think would be much harder for me.
Well, Allison, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. You've been an absolute delight to talk to. Where can our listeners and our viewers go to find more from you?
So I'm on Instagram. I'm pretty active there. It's Alyson Gerber. It's at Alyson Gerber, and that's my website too, AlysonGerber.com.
All right. Fantastic, Allison. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, go pick up the Liar Society series wherever books are sold. Book 3, A Secret Escape, is out now. And if you like a mystery that's easily digestible, if you like fun, adventure, I think you'll dig the Liar Society. Next week on the podcast, I'm sitting down with actress and now author Sarah Amini to talk about her debut graphic novel, Mixed Feelings. What were you hoping that readers would take away about navigating those maybe more complex social relationships with empathy and kindness?
You know, I really just think empathy and kindness leads the way, and you always will end up on top if that is, how you pursue every single situation that you're in, even if it doesn't feel it in the moment, even if it's not reciprocated. And that's hard. It's hard to not, be cynical and be, mean yourself when you're not feeling your best. I wasn't always met with kindness back, but I always just try to lead with empathy, and you realize that you're more alike than you are different.
If you're enjoying the Writer's Block podcast, please consider following us over on social media. We are at Writer's Block Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. If you want to be a part of the show, send an email to writersblockpod@gmail.com and consider leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, your podcasting platform of choice. You can probably find us on the Podcasts Are Us. That's the little lesser known podcast app that I just made up in my head. Is that a thing? I should probably Google that before I put that in the episode. Podcasts Are Us. Yeah, okay, I'm good. There's no podcast making platform called Podcasts Are Us. Listening? I'm tired. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the podcast this week. Thank you so much to Alyson Gerber for joining us. Until next time, I've been Greg. You've been awesome. And keep writing. Writer's Block is a production of Good Nerd Media, hosted by Greg Nikas, produced by Grimothy Kaus, produced and edited by Gregory Nikas. Special thanks to Alyson Gerber and Martha Kiley.